I think that's one of the things that influenced my approach to continue in that direction. I wanted to also mention here about some of the players that you will find in the business. You know, the design build industry, it's really just taking off, as many of you know, both in the commercial and in the residential area. Unfortunately, architects are not participating as much, and there's been other people in the residential area that are beginning to do this design build firms. As a matter of fact, it's almost beginning to have a little bit of bad connotation to architects about the design build firms, as it is more dominated by builders, and in many instances other entities in the design industry or in the delivery of homes. And so many of these folks will be probably moving to that direction, and I feel that we as architects are probably better prepared and better positioned to be leading a design build endeavor. Talk a little bit about, you know, the different possibilities of creating a design build firm. And of course, the one would be, as I was mentioning earlier, other entities such as a construction company or a builder become a design build by either offering designs or actually having an architect or designer as part of the firm, which is not as desirable, but nevertheless it's beginning to be very common. And I think that the final product is just really not as good as the kind of product that an architect can deliver. Another way to put this together is to associate yourself with an architect associating with a construction company. In creating a unified team, I have found over my observations on different firms that I've seen do this over the years that is, in many cases, a relationship that doesn't quite last. Assuming that it's a real partnership or it's actually mutual ownership of the company, typically it's tough to kind of hold on to that relationship. Maybe egos and a few other things get involved as some of these entities are owners. But it's definitely one that's viable, and that could work for many people. Another observation about this is that a lot of times I hear about architects saying, okay, I'm doing design build because I am coordinating with a construction company, or we're a team. And to me, it's a little bit different when the ownership is basically two entities just getting together and getting a project, and then the project's done, and then you're not one entity. You're two interests with two separate companies. And I think that to be truly a design build company, it needs to be one company that is looking at the interests of the client from one single entity and the interests of the company too. Which brings me to the third one here, which is an architect-led design build. Again, I feel, and I'll show you through some of the presentation today, one of the things that I feel that qualifies us as architects best than other entities in the residential field to be looking at this approach. So, again, why design build? And looking at it from the project execution approach, is a single source of responsibility. It's back what I was mentioning about ownership of a company, that you would have a single entity that it is not only responsible but liable, and the interest of the company and of the client is better served that way. There's no adverse relationships as they typically could take place, as you know, all of us know involved in this industry, and the disputes between architects and people implementing our designs. When you control who's implemented design, it all becomes internal. What I mean by high degree of resolution on your design is that by your company and your organization being the implementers too, it's a continued feedback of refining your designs and the work, and ultimately the firm continues to grow with a tighter resolution versus a non-design build approach. I'm not saying that you can achieve this without it, but I think this just, again, it just fine-tunes it to a deeper level. Next reason, financial gain. Of course, that seems to be the very obvious one. And again, This is residential. Let me ask you a question: how many people are involved largely in residential? Okay, so a good part of the audience. Is there any residential people that are doing design build already? Okay, 2 people. So that's great. You're in the right place. So if you're involved in the residential part of architecture and design, you know how tough sometimes it can be the fee structure in there versus other areas of architectural practice. It becomes extremely competitive. There's a lot of competition in all directions from people that are not registered architects, designers, etc. And so consequently, it's a little bit tougher, running a business of design only. And by adding the construction layer in there, you can really have and increase your potential for profits and expanding your profit base. Also, one of the things I put here, diminishing change orders, we'll talk a little bit more about that. I found in my practice that in our design build practice, change orders have really dropped down much more during the construction process because we're able to talk about cost, to really analyze with our clients the project from a cost point of view. So as we move forward, there's been a deeper analysis than the design only and then move right into construction. And there's other areas that could be profit centers here by getting involved in the larger area, in the residential part of things. I know in our company we expanded our service of construction to swimming pools, landscaping. There's several things that we incorporated, so there's additional centers of profit for us. One that I probably won't talk too much about it, but I wanted to mention is that we also in our company, our interior design group, provides furnishings and accessories, rugs, etc. to the house. So we do have full turnkey process, which is an additional area of financial margins, improved margins. Another area that is important is how you broaden up your market more. As you develop your practice, because by being a home builder, an interior designer, and an architect, you really end up marketing and getting a little bit broader in your approach. The thing about it, when people are start looking at building a home, the first thing, unfortunately, many people think is about a home builder, and that's pretty much across the nation. It's that way in Texas, in several parts of the country, and I think that part of it is that the architectural industry has kind of abandoned the residential part of things, but I think there's a big movement to recapture that market from architects. But by being design build, you really can expand so much more in those possibilities. Not to mention the fact that you can value engineer the process during the design because you have the knowledge of construction and cost. The thing that will actually get fine-tuned as you get involved and being able to look at your market share is how you're going to be able to improve a lot of your design practice and the success of your projects. And consequently, it's going to create better projects that the public's going to be noticing and seeing your signature a little bit more, and you have more control of it. Not to mention that you will have probably more prospects coming to you because so many people are looking at the home building industry, and so the line is going to be blurred in there. You are a home builder, you are an architect, so people very naturally start coming to you, so you have a little bit more exposure and consequently more clients come to see you, so you will stand out a little bit more from your peers. And by the way, your peers are no longer going to be just the architectural industry or the design industry, but your peers are going to be also the home building. You will become a home builder, so you're also going to look better than the average home builder as you sharpen your skills and are able to compete with better tools that they have. Okay, this part of the presentation is one that I really like. You're the golden goose, so keep the eggs. So back to the great things on the benefits of the sign bill is the fact that your margins are going to be added on, since you now are looking at a project that's going to have your income on architectural fees and also the income of construction margins as you move through the project. So the services would be, you'll be able to charge the client for both parts of the equation. As what I mentioned here, furnishings in our firm, we found that the furnishings is another great source of income. The interior design industry has pretty good markups. There's a lot of changes happening in that industry, but nevertheless, it's another fairly lucrative way to increase your line of income. One of the things that we discovered in our firm, we did not used to offer that service to our clients up until about almost 10 years now, 9 years since we started. We always included what we called interior design, which was just the selections and the typical thing that an architect might do. Not all architects in residential provide those services. In many instances, they rely on a third-party interior designer to come and do this. But as I hired groups of interior designers, they said, Luis, you know, we should do the furniture. And sure enough, probably it was the first year that I had opened and hired additional interior designers. And one of our clients asked me the questions they've asked me in the past. He said, Luis, can you recommend somebody that can do the furniture for us? And I usually will be recommending somebody else. And then, you know, I could see my interior designer kind of eyeing me. And I said, okay, we can take care of that. So we started doing that, like I said, about 9 years ago. And it's been very successful and a great additional source of income. The other part that is, speaking of kind of the golden goose and keeping the golden eggs, is by doing speculative work. In other words, become an architect developer. You have already your own construction company, so the potential for this to grow is tremendous. Our company, typically over the years, we've been doing about 20% of our work speculative work, where we have gone and acquired lots of property. We have not quite taken it to the level that we would develop the land, which is another possibility. We found that that's very time consuming, so we went to just go ahead and buy the developed lots in high-end communities and take on the risk of doing our own projects and put it on the market, which has been very successful. And we've literally been doing that for the 30 years that I've been in practice. As a matter of fact, that's how I cut my teeth. And I'll talk a little more about that later on. Here in the presentation is by, I started my practice with a speculative project, and moved on from there. But definitely, you become more of an entrepreneur as you do that. The other thing that is very important to mention here is that design sells. You know, design is what really attracts the eye of the consumer. We all know that. And we as architects, this is what we provide. We provide the design, we provide the looks of the place. And I always felt that, you know, that's where somebody else was, in many cases, getting some of the fruit of our own labor. And I think that's part of the things that really encouraged me to become a design build company, because I felt, okay, I'm being compensated for my design work, and I'm being competitive because I got to compete with all those other guys. But the guy that is really was taking a larger part of the income was the builders that I was doing work for. And so that was a great incentive for me to look in that direction. And I realized that they were coming to me because of the design. And as I've seen it again through the years, a lot of the very successful builders that make a lot of money, they associate themselves with some of the best architects. So it's just the natural that design really sells. So if you have the control of the design, you really should have more of the compensation beyond just the architectural fees. It goes back to that earlier slide that I showed on the production of products such as phones, airplanes, and cars, etc. That the people that sell those products, they don't separate the design from the production. One of the things that we do to ensure the transition from design to construction, and I probably won't have time today to go over some of the contractual details and such. If you go to that presentation, there will be a 4-hour presentation in Denver. We'll probably talk quite a bit about that. But one of the challenges that I've seen over the years is, how do I contractually tie in my owners or my clients to move to the construction process? In the early years of my practice, I would lose probably about 10% or so of our projects that say, well, really, Luis, this is a great design. You guys are a great, design build company. I'm going to go to Joe out here because he is 5% less. And one of the things I changed in our contract is with the issue of ownership of drawings. That's one new thing that we started doing. It's been a good 15 plus years ago. Is that we own the documents all the way until the construction starts. So that way, contractually, when somebody hires me to do architectural work, I'm already tied into the construction. So again, there's a lot more control that you can see that you can begin to have in that area. The other thing about it is you'll be able to convert more projects into construction. One of the things, and this is before I started my own business, when I was an intern, I worked for several companies, and I used to observe, and it frustrated me that I would work on great projects, and they'll never make it to construction. And they wouldn't make it to construction because they were out of budget. I mean, I saw that 30 plus years ago, and I said, there is something wrong with this equation. And I really feel that it's part of the disconnect that has existed between architects and the knowledge about construction and being able to have this properly tied in. So I really feel that by an architect having a good grasp of construction cost and good control of the project all the way through, your projects are going to go and going to be built. I mean, the percentage of the projects that get built in our company, it's in the high 90s. We don't have projects that go on the shelves. It just doesn't happen. The only reason that a project will go on the shelf is if it's some major cause, debts, or something along those lines. So I think that's another great advantage in part of this financial improvement to the approach of this industry. Going and talking about a little bit about how the clients, what's so great about it is that it's a really win-win situation, and I'll start talking about it's a win-win situation for everybody involved. And of course, the first person that needs to be talked about here is our clients. It is a total win-win situation for them, which eliminates a lot of the headaches that they've heard in the industry. And to me, this is one of the great advantages to an architect. The housing industry is an industry, especially the custom housing industry, is a pretty broken toy, in my view. There's a lot of things that are dysfunctional about it. There are problems, and you all know it, and you've seen most of you are in the residential, and how people, the consumer in general, complains about custom home building, about the headaches that are involved, and they're very scared about it, and they heard about all the things, they talk to their friends, and realize all the pitfalls that are in there. And I really feel that by doing design build, you really are able to smooth a lot of those major headaches that are typically that everybody talks about. Such as what I've been talking about. The project was too expensive, we couldn't build it, we got frustrated, we just blew it off and went and bought a house. Then you get through the process of construction and change orders and things that are coming up. People are pointing fingers at each other, and we end up paying for things and so on. The other thing that where the client really is a win-win situation is the very smooth transition between design and construction that in the typical custom home building process of design, bid, build. The homeowner and the architect will have to go through the nightmarish process of getting bids and then find out whether the project is on budget, and assuming that it is and everything goes right, there's a lot of emotion that gets and time that gets consumed in that process. By being a design build, and I can tell you from my experience in our company, we start giving our clients a construction cost at the preliminary stage. When we produce the preliminary, there is actually a cost that it is hard. For us, we have a full set of specifications attached to our preliminary drawings, and actually we have full selections of all finishes on our projects. And this happens in the preliminary stage, which is about 20% into the design process, and so our clients are very pleased with that process. By the time we get 50% done, 70% done and finished, cost is an all subject. It's been discussed, it's been assimilated, it's been processed, and they've been able to move ready to sign. Signing the contract is like they're almost rushing me. Like, Luis, when are we going to sign the construction contract? We're ready. So it's a very smooth transition. I mentioned earlier about reducing change orders, and the concept of reducing change orders is precisely because you are giving the clients a lot of information on cost. There are things that get taken in and out of the project, and they're able to fine-tune design through knowledge of cost. So it's the same process that we go and design as far as simplify, develop and doing design development, let's say in the ceiling of a house or a particular room. You can look at different cost approaches. So by the time you're in construction, you already analyze that not only from a design point of view, but cost, so it eliminates some of those change orders. This next item I have here, which is not wasted time in the emotional part of bidding. Those of you that are involved in the design, bid, build approach to custom residential know that the trauma sometimes there is to deal with multiple builders and all the politics that get played with clients, and the builders are pretty tough on this. I mean, they're fighting out there for a pretty substantial amount of their part of the process, and it gets political, it gets emotional, and I think design build eliminates all that and makes it very smooth. People that have built before a home in this traditional process know that well, and when you start talking about design build and how you eliminated that, they know what you're talking about. They know that that's just a wonderful thing not to have to worry about that. And the other thing for the client, which is also where they feel that there is a win-win situation. Most clients that are looking to start building their custom home, they realize that they have to have the architect, and maybe the architect recommends an interior designer, maybe they recommends a builder. Is it going to be bidding? They start talking to tons of people, and at least if you do design build, they realize this is great. I don't have to keep looking. These guys sound great, and I have the entire team here. So it's a really win-win situation as far as their timing, and they perceive that, and they enjoy that. Again, one more time, avoiding the whole drastic thing of telling people that didn't get the job, that put a tremendous amount of work in bidding a project, which is a phenomenal task, and in many cases they don't get paid for this. So again, the clients know this, and they appreciate when they don't have to go through that process. By the way, I put in here one of the comments that one of our clients did. We built a house for Martha and Errol, and as a matter of fact, we're finishing a house for their son and wife and family in Lake Austin, and as a matter of fact, as we speak, we're furnishing it right now, and they're going to be moving in right before Thanksgiving. So let's put that comment there. By the way, there's Martha. some of our team. There's the lady in the green. A few more things about the win-win situation from a client point of view. And you know, they do perceive this, and this is the number one thing. It saves time and money. And I mean, what an easier thing to sell. I'm going to save you time and money. So it's a real no-brainer for the clients. By bundling the services, they realize that they're going to be saving some. And you know, frankly, I could approach it where, no, I'm going to, you know, this is my architectural fees, this is my construction fees, this is my interior fees, this is my furniture fees. And I mean, I could put on that approach, but I don't. I bundle the services, and I do give them a very good deal. So again, it's a no-brainer for them, because I don't, in our company, we don't live or die by architectural income, or even the construction income, or the interior income, or the furnishings income. So, yes, sir.
Related to, putting this in perspective, what's the minimum size from a cost standpoint project you could do that works well for your company?
That's a very good question. And by the way, I encourage y'all to jump in with questions. We will have some time for questions here at the end, but at any time, jump in. That's a subject that we deal very often in our firm, and it's something that needs to be adjusted almost on a quarterly, if not yearly basis. But to answer your question, our company, we build about $20 million approximately a year worth of construction of projects. So we gear ourselves up to that particular. By the way, this is what works for us for our volume. We're in 3 cities, and you have to put a particular team together. And so when it comes to your question, what is the smallest project? Our typical smaller project is going to be about a 4,000 square foot home. You know, it's very hard for us to start, or for the consumer to be able to afford what they need to pay for a team like ours to, you know, to put this together. In our markets, also as the square footages get smaller, the price per square foot is higher. Obviously, so all those numbers start kind of being adjusted. But for us, we're doing some projects that are about 1.6, 1.8. You know, with the recession that we are hopefully just coming out of, we've taken more of those projects lately. But definitely the 1% still choppy.